Okay, so let's start with the second part. And in this part, we will be focusing on multimedia frameworks and tools. So these are the contents that we'll be talking on. ffmpeg. This is the most widely used and popular. So definitely, as you know, that there are tons of multimedia tools and frameworks. There are so many software, so many application software, system software, developing tools you can use. And even in a simple Microsoft Paint, or even PowerPoint or Photoshop, these all are actually multimedia tools, right? So but we are talking about audio, video, and those kind of things today. So the very first one that we'll be talking on is ffmpeg. And then I'll be just give some names that will be useful for you. That is, one is OpenShot video editor and another is Open Broadcaster software. So, and then we'll be also seeing something in Python demonstration using OpenCV. So let's see how much we can cover. So the very first one is ffmpeg. This is basically a software suite of libraries and programs for handling video, audio, and any other multimedia files and streams. And we work in command line based processing for video and audio files. It's simply something like command prompt, or let's say Anaconda DOS prompt, so that kind of things. So it's not very convenient to work with this command prompt or command line based processing, but it is very much helpful, and we can use it for transcoding, basic editing, video scaling, video post production effects, and even various kinds of standard compliance that we deal. And because of this ffmpeg is being used is almost in any systems. You can think of this iTunes, YouTube's, in various other kinds of systems, embedded video codec. So that's all about ffmpeg. So generally, from the command shell, ffmpegs usually starts with this kind of command syntax. So when you install and you get the command prompt, or we can say the shell command, so just you write ffmpeg. So this is the the library or codec, whatever you said that we are using. And then we have to mention some options. These options basically for input options. And then this dash I hyphen I means the indication that the next one would be the input name. And so what is this input? What do you mean by this? Means that whenever we like to work on some video or audio file, definitely we have some input file on which we'll be working on, right? So video captures, or maybe any video files, or whatever the format, it doesn't matter. So that's the input file. And so on this input file, we can provide some options. So this is the input options. And then we'll provide some output options. And if we run this command, then it will produce this output file name. So this is very much generic command syntax. There is another options called global options, but we are not talking about that here. Okay, so it's very simple. You just, this is a something like it starts with the ffmpeg, then your computer understand that I'll have to apply the ffmpeg library suites, and then this is your input name, file name, and this input will be converted to some output file name following your input options, and that will be goes onto your output options. So this is the idea of how to use the ffmpeg. So now let's talk that how ffmpeg this transcoding process works. Okay. So you can think of that we are basically taking one input file, and we will do something on that input file, and we will produce one output file. That's the idea in ffmpeg in transcoding process. So the very first things that we take we have an input file, and we pass this input file through something called demarker. Definitely this demarker is something, right? And this demarker basically read the media file, your audio file or video file, and then it is split into some chunks of data, or we say some packets. Okay, just splitting into some packets. This packet basically contains one or more encoded frames, and that belongs to something called streaming. We just say a single elementary stream. So whatever, we now have some data packets. So when this input file goes into this demuxer, we have now some data packets, and then these data packets will go through decoder. Okay, now this decoder basically, definitely this is only data packets, just splitted this input file. Now this decoder, what it will do, it will remove all the headers and related in many other kinds of information, and then it will just extract your raw data file. Okay, the raw media data. And then you have these decoded frames. So that means these decoded frames is basically your raw data file. Okay. So first, first what demuxer do? Demuxer, did some splitting, and you have some packets of the data. And of each packets, now this decoder, what it does is each packets, from each packet it extracted the raw data file. Okay, now this raw data file, it now have now you can convert this raw data file into a new format based on your expectations. Okay, so now we'll have to add the desired headers and formats according to our new desired and expected formats, and then you pass this encoded data. I mean, definitely these decoded frames goes through the encoders, and then encoder adds your new headers and those things, and then you have the encoded data packets. Definitely it's the reverse of these things, right? If you compare with these things and these things, and then these data packets again need to go through muxer. And muxer, what does that? So using the packets, encoded packets is now combined on a single output file. So that's how this transcoding process works in ffmpeg, a generic structure or flow of the data. Now it is possible that when you have the raw data here, these decoded frames, your raw data, that is when the files and the packet comes through the decoders, you have the raw data. Now in this raw data you can do some filtering. So that means before doing some encoding stops, you can do some filtering or some addition of some things into the raw data, right? So that's what we say, that before encoding, ffmpeg can process raw audio and video frames using your desired filters. And we use these kinds of library. So library audio video filter. Okay, so filter might be a simple filter. So for example, you take the input, do some de-interlacing or interlacing, and what is interlacing, right? So for examples, you like to transmit your data through maybe in some alternate line format or those kind of interlacing. So perhaps your video already interlaced, so we need to de-interlace. So that means we need to rearrange our row by row, so in every frame. So that kind of things, and you can do some scaling, different kind of scaling, and then you output. And other times you might have some complex filter. We say some complex filter graph. For examples, you might have input file 1, input file 2, input file 3, and then you produce you just based on these input files, you just produce 2 output files. So in every cases you just extract the raw data, and then from this raw data you produce 2 stream of files. So that's what it means. So as you saw the command syntax, that we had something called input options and output options. These things is very much clear that it is input file name and you provide your expected output file name. But in between all, just we have to mention some input options and output options. So what are those options? So let's look some of these options. For example, so you can mention that your options is like that. It means -r or -r. It means that what kind of frame rate you want, either in input or output. So this is measure something called frames per second. If you include like that, that hey, I'm telling my ffmpeg that produce my output file with 20 frames per second. Okay. So how about this one, vocodec? So it means codec, vcodec, video codec. It allows that what kind of video codec we like to use. You might use H.264 or simply AVI codecs, or maybe some other kind of codec. For example, you can give these options like that I like to use AVI codec or maybe I like to use H.264 codec. So then ffmpeg will supply. So ffmpeg basically contains all of this that's possible AVI, maybe Mpeg, so some H.264, every kinds of possible this codec this ffmpeg contains. So that's why ffmpeg is so powerful. Then you can also mention that what kind of audio coder you like to use. For example, audio codec is ASE, FLAC, and various modes of MP3. So that kind of things you can mention. Also, you can give the options that I like to have my video size is this. For example, if you mention this hyphen video size, and then you just give that what kind of video size you want. For example, 920 by 1080. This is equivalent to roughly HD resolution, high definition resolutions, right? So ffmpeg outputs typically are video or audio files. So for example, this one, it indicates that an output file can overwrite an older file. It means -y means yes, you just overwrite the file. This indicates that how long the video should be. So t stated in seconds. So for example, this 1 minute video. And then you can also mention that what's your video quality. So for example, if you mention something like this, that 1 to up to 31, so that would be the highest indicator. 31 is would be the lowest indicator, and 1 would be the highest indicator. So just you mentions like this, right? So for example, hyphen QV, and then just you mentions that 1 just a certain number, right? So there are certain command formations that I have here. For example, when you it starts the command prompt, then after installation the ffmpeg and those. So this $sign will be coming, and then you write ffmpeg and you write this means input. So you see, let's say you have some video, video an MP4 file video, right? And you like to see that what are the different kinds of informations, for example, video size and extensions and various other kind of file informations. Just you write this one, that $ffmpeg, this I, and then you just give the file name, and it automatically gives lots of information. You can try it, and if you like to hide the default other information that comes with ffmpeg itself, you can just hide it. Now let's say we like to convert video files to different formats. For example, you like to you have an MP4 file and you want to see to an AVI format. So that's very easy. You just write input, this is your MP4 input file. Maybe you can provide the path name or something, and then you just write that what kind of format you want. I want video.avi, and it will be automatically done. It's like Gene, you have one kind of format and you like to convert to another kind of format, so you can easily do just by simply you just give the input file name and you just give the output file name, and because it is a different format and the same file name, it's okay. Now let's say you just like to convert a video files to an audio files. So you just write this is the same things, and just you input file MP4, and let's say this means that no video. So you see this options, this is output file options, right? You see, so there was no input options. I just have this input and then input MP4, and output file options is this one, that no video, and then you just have output.mp3 format, and it will produce. Now another things I need to mention that let's say we understand that this ffmpeg understand if you starts with I, it means the next is input file name, okay, and before that all are input file options. But definitely after this file name, all others is some options, and it means these options will be applied to this next file. So these options here that you will mention, these options will be applied to this file name, and these options will be applied to this file name. Now converting video to audio files, there is another kind of various kinds of other things you can set, other parameters that you can set onto the output files. This is our output file and this is our input file. So that means from here to here is all our some output file options. For example, the first options is no video, and the next options is it says that what is the sampling rate of our audio file. So it means that one, this audio rate. And then how many channels we want. For example, 2 channel or 3 channel, 4 channel kind of stereo knows. So that kind of thing. Or number of audio channel is this one, audio channel 2. And you can also mention that, something like audio bit rate, for example, 320 kbps or something. And then this means, you just now mentioned the output file format. So these are different kinds of, syntax that you can use it. And often we like to compress the video files, right? So for example, let's say we have this input, MP4, file, and we like to compress it. And then you just mention, these kinds of, maybe different kinds of parameters so that the output will be compressed file. Now, depending on your expectation and desire and needs, you can mention that what kind of quality you want, and it will be what kind of presetting you want, very slow, and the quality will be 24, maybe. Definitely it's a very worst quality, so you can maybe 22, 23 is okay. And different kinds of scaling parameters you can see, and some things you can search what others mean. So definitely, I'll mention this link a little later also. So as I mentioned that we can apply various kinds of filters of video. You can edit the video even on fly, online, so as the streaming comes in. Even you can produce some things like this using some sort of using some filter complex. For example, in one single frame you can have maybe multiple file source. For example, this 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Maybe from 4 different files you can produce the video. So this is called something called tiles video, right? So we say tile 4 video streams you can combine. So this is also possible in ffmpeg. So I remember that last time, I gave this kind of project, to students before coronavirus to produce this with ffmpeg. You can also try it this time, so you'll not, have that sorts of project, by the way. So now let's see what next. And next is I'll be showing something, maybe some, I don't know, maybe some video is there, so that's why they're not coming. Yeah, so there is some video. So this is, how you can install the ffmpeg. So you have, you can go here, to see the recent, version of our ffmpeg, and then you can download the build and you can install it. And it is pretty easy. If you use Windows 6.4, then you can use it, or if you use Mac, you can use it. And this the video that you can watch if you install it, and I highly recommend you install it and you be skilled and a master. You basically doesn't need to rely on different kinds of third-party softwares. All you can do just by installing this ffmpeg, and you can do various kinds of fun, cool things. Okay, so what is next is maybe is another, yeah. So here is something called some introductory commands for ffmpeg. So you can use it in the beginning, and this is a short introductions that how you can use ffmpeg for commands and various other kinds of trips. And then what else I have now is, well, it's coming a little lately, because it has some the PPT file has some link for video, YouTube video file. That's why it's taking a little time. Okay, so here is bunch of video links for you, how to use ffmpeg, very clear and concise descriptions, and how you can use some advanced techniques. And in part 1 and part 2, this guy has done these things. I also learned from here and some other sources, so you can use it. And I used it. It's very cool. And maybe the previous students, I recommended these things, and they also learned things, and they said to me that they are very happy to learn these things and use it. So my idea that you just know that what ffmpeg do, and lots of very raw files, raw editings you can do with ffmpeg. And this OpenShot video editor is more about Windows based system. So graphical user interface, so you can do all the basic video editing features like trimming and slicing. You can add templates, transitions, and various other kinds of audio video effects. But definitely it's more about application software, even though you can do lots of fun and cool things. But ffmpeg is very powerful. And if are really interested to but why I'm actually selecting this OpenShot is basically OpenShot is also open source. ffmpeg is also open source, and I'm a very big fan of open source things, because you can use it, you can also develop it, and there is no licensing fee. So you can learn this OpenShot video tutorial, and you can install it from there. I installed it before. I did a lot of stuffs in OpenShot video tutorials. You can merge the video. You can I split the video. You can just omit the sound, and you can add new sound. You can add new image, various kinds of things you can do in OpenShot video editor. And then finally, I would say the OBS. OBS is another open source platforms, and this is especially for streaming and recording program. Okay, so even it can be used for capture computer screen and record it. For examples that I'm presenting right now, other times I used OBS software, and it supports basically multiple source time to captures and dynamically mixing the pre-recorded video, taking head, talking heads and audio graphics, window captures, browser windows, and webcams many are. For example, let's say you will be presenting from a PowerPoint source, and at the same time you will be streaming from the webcam. At the same time you'll be playing some other kinds of video. It's a total entire studio you can set up with OBS. So OBS is very powerful. For example, you saw in studio sometimes you can see some two screen togethers, maybe three screen togethers, maybe one from maybe Skype and another from maybe something others, PowerPoint presentations, and others in maybe your own voice, and you can change the background, you can change different kind of windows. So maybe you have lots of windows, let's say 10 window open, so you can add at the same time, so you can show the 10 window using OBS. So it basically captures from each window, each streaming, each video, each sources. So various kind of things we can do using OBS. So definitely you can download the OBS software. This is also open source, and then you can learn a very short tutorials, and then you'll be master on. So I would suggest that you try to use this OBS software, OpenShot software, and also ffmpeg. ffmpeg is more about raw video file, and if you do the research and analyze the video audio file in your computer forms, and even if you do ffmpeg, you will get a lot of job. Okay, so you can install and you can learn those things definitely, but here I'll be showing something in a more programming point of view and more research perspectives. If you become interested, you can use this kind of OpenCV. OpenCV is a very great software, this OpenCV, and using OpenCV you can work in computer vision. So CV actually means computer visions, right? So that means you can analyze the image, you can analyze various kinds of maybe video frames, and then you can track different kinds of human actions, or maybe human computer interactions, those kind of things you can do. So but definitely that's a very I would say very long, and it takes a lot of time to be master on. But here now I'll be showing you something that how you can read, and how you can write this video file and video frames using this OpenCV. Okay, so for this we will be using this package. That means from Python we can use OpenCV. So if you don't have this one, or if you did not install before, that you can install it, like pip, that is Python installation package, and install OpenCV-Python. So then the Python will be OpenCV for Python will be installed, and then you can import. So this is interesting. Even though your package name is OpenCV Python, but is actually located in CV2. So that we say CV. I don't know why they just write this different, but maybe it is more easier to understand, right? So that maybe that's why. So this is called CV2. Let's say import CV2, then the CV2 will be imported. Then we can use CV2, and it's basically based on NumPy, multidimensional array. So we need import NumPy as NP, and NP sometimes we use it for many kinds of things. So the very first things that we'll be using in CV2, there is a module called or let's say function called video capture. Now if you write the video captures, so that means within the CV2 dot video capture, and then it starts capturing the video. So and from which devices it will capture the video? It will capture the video from the device number 0. So now you need to note down that this number, depending on your system, it might be -1, it might be 1, or it might be 2. Yeah, so it basically, I'm talking that this is basically your let's say webcam. Okay, so 0 works at my computer, maybe in your computer too, but if not, try 1, 2, or -1, something like that. So camera, let's say, is a capture device. So video captures from the webcam 0, and then put this this capture in cap. Let's say cap is a variable. Now cap become a CV2 object that contains our video capture. Okay, so now we'll so by the way, it's not necessary you just have to capture the video from the webcam or something. It might be simply your video file. For example, my video.mp4. Maybe you have mp4 file, and then just I'm writing my video.mp4. That's also okay. It just read the video frame from that file. Okay, and that in computer, or in our understanding, the video is basically a sequence of a series of frames, nothing else, right? Series of image frame. You can say video frame or image. We just repeat it in every second 20 to 30 times or 40 times, so it looks like video, right? So that's what it means. So anyway, so this seems cool, but now it's better that we will just open in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so let me open it. Okay, we are here. So you see that I have given this name is something called video operation with OpenCV. So let's say we first read the video. So what you need to do, we have already installed it, so you don't need, if you forget it, you can install. But this command should not be here, by the way, right? It should be, your, let's say, Anaconda, prompt or something. You just, will write from there. Then we import the CV and import the NumPy, and I explain these things fast. So this means that, video capturing is being done, and then it's being in cap, and then, first we'll have to check that if camera is opened successfully or not, right? Because when you work with this kind of reading from the input and output port and writing to output port, often we see error. And working with video or audio is always a very boring job. I mean, very, how to say that, I mean, it's very wiggly job, not straightforward, and many times your computer might be hang and because of various kinds of issues. So you be prepared with that kind of things. So anyway, so we can have that, let's say this cap, cap, because this is a video capture, so we can check something called is open. Okay, is open. So there is a small functions, a built-in function, so we are just calling that cap. So if cas open equal false, so that means this is open, this kind of coding. So it means it is a tag variable, so it might be false or it might be true. If it is false, so that means if it is not open, we can give a print message that, hey, error opening video streaming or file, right? So we can just error opening video, this kind of, you can just give any other kind of print comment. And let's say it's not false, so that means cap is open, and you can write that if it is true or something. But if you write cap is open, means if it is true. So or let's say in infinite loop while 1, you can also write an infinite loop like while, and then you just write 1. That will also work. Okay, and then what you do, just let's say we just first read our frame. So how can we read? So for example, cap, we can just write cap.read. So it means it will be reading. And while it's read, so if it is true, that means there is a frame, then this this cap.read will return something called true, and it will be contained in RET. So this variable will be 1 if the read is successful, and if it is not, so then it will be false. And if it is successful, that means this capture reading this frame will be stored in frame. This frame is a variable. It's our name. Okay, now let's check. So if return equal true, so that means we are okay to go ahead, right? And then we will just show our frame. So now cv2, and then just you write im show, that is image show. And let's say you just give a window name because it's a video frame and it will be coming as a window. So let's say you can give frame from webcam. This is just I have written. You can write your own things, and just you show the frame, right? You just show this frame because this frame contains this video. Okay, now it will show the frame, but then we need to do another things, that how long we will see this video, right? So now let's we just just wait. That let's say cv2, and there is a command called wait key or function wait key, and in here we are writing 25 or something, right? So that means this means 25 millisecond or something. And then there is some sort of mask. It's kind of operations, and you just remember this right now. It's kind of interruption. And then we'll have to write something like, let's say our character is, let's say, q. So what it means is, let's say from the keyboard, if we press q, that means quit. That means it will stop capturing our frame and displaying the frame. Rather it will be quit. And so quit means that we'll break the loop. So this loop, you remember this loop, while loop, this outer loop, and this is a condition. So condition, it will be waiting for a key, and if it is q, then it will be break. So every 25 milliseconds it will check and then see, right? Okay. And if you see, if this return is false, so definitely this if means this else means this if. So it will be break definitely. So at that time, there's nothing to show. Okay, and then when it comes, out of the loops, so that means we have to release the video capture object. That's this object that we created. We'll have to release it. When you read and write these kinds of audio file, video file, we'll always have to release. Otherwise, this will engage the objects, and unnecessary memories and various other kinds of things might happen. And after that, we'll destroy all of the open frames, for example cv2, and destroy all windows. So that we generated from this frame window, or it's a frame from my window, it will be just destroyed. So once we press the key, so it will break the loop, and then it will release the object video, and then it will destroy all of our windows. So this what it means by something called read video. Okay, so this is very simple. Now definitely we'll run this command now, but before that I need to say that if you are not familiar, just it is good to say something like this, or let's say something like here, right? This while loop, and you see there is some intending, right? So this, if you see from here, and then you see after some space we are writing this if. So it means that this if is basically within this loop, and then you see this if and this else is basically aligned. So this kind of alignment and indentation, we need to be careful. Okay, otherwise it might cause some problem, and it might show the error, because Python basically worked based on this proper intending. Okay, so let's run this command, right? Okay, so I'm running it, and we are waiting for some seconds, and let's see what comes. And it seems it comes here. So you see, okay, good. So it seems that right now my webcam actually showing my books, so that's why you are seeing these things. But let's say we press the Q. Okay, so Q means that is gone. So very pretty cool. And now see that how about maybe we are interested to to store or to show the gray level image, not just color, because maybe for our needs, our frame, gray frames is okay, not RGB. The ones that we capture and we display, that's basically RGB, right? So for example, the CCTV or something, maybe it's in black and white and gray level, because it takes less space on those. So what we can do is we will do the same things, right? You see, it is the same things we will do. Only things we will change is something called, for example, CC. Here we are, we have this, but we'll display, let's say this frame will be convert, this frame is color RGB, just we'll convert to gray space. So just before showing these things, or maybe after reading these things, that frame will be converted to a gray space frame. And that exactly same command, I have put the same command, only I have put this command new here. Okay, so you see, so before displaying this image show, and by the way, that here frame, so we are basically capturing frame by frame, and each frame is basically an image, so that's why we are showing image. So that means why, as soon as it captures a frame and we are showing it. So, and because it's continuously showing, so we are seeing the video. So what is this? So there is something called CVT color, and remember this color, this C is basically capital letter, big letter. So color, and you just supply which frame we are talking about. We are this frame, and then you just there is a color conversion tool. So for example, CV2 dot color, this RGB, they write BZR. I mean, it's the same things, BZR or RGB to gray. So automatically this frame will be converted to gray level, and then it will be put back to our frame. So frame will be converted to this one. Now if we just display this frame, and if we run, we did the very much all other the same syntax, and if you just run it, then it will be showing the gray image. Let's run, and we are waiting few seconds, and you see this time is basically gray level image, right? So this frame, and it's if you closely look, it's basically video, because book is not moving, so we don't see it. And I press the key and it gone. Now there is some useful information we can extract. For example, we like to see the frame size information from the capture device, capture frame. So again the same, just we can write if it is true. So just write for example, let's say frame width, we just have a variable name, and just write cap.get3. So just to use get command. Okay, cap is our object, this video capture object, and then we just write get3. So get3 means when we write the get, might be 3, 4, various kind of things. So 3 means frame width, and 4 means frame height. So if you just have frame width and frame height, and let's say we just make frame size something called frame width and frame height, so this one, and then you just print the frame size, and you can see the frame size, and you see it. So I'm just waiting now, because we run definitely 640 480 frame, and as you saw, that is we had 640 width, that is column number, and 480 our line number, right? So that's the things. Now how about the write the video? So write command is also, you can look at yourself, it's not very difficult, but a little more command we need. So this is basically, again, we just define and capture object, and what we need to do is we need to define a codec for creating the video writer object, and this, there is something called 4cc command. So this 4cc command is basically a 4-byte code, and that we use to specify the video codec. Okay, so let's say we just give the same name 4cc, and CV2 video writer is a 4cc codec, and this means X, V, I, D, all. J star means all kind of things we just included here. So this is called 4C video codec we created, and let's say our frame rate would be 20 frames per second. Okay, so just write FPS frame 20 frames per second, and then you just supply in these things CV2 video writer. So it was first we video writer underscore 4cc, just we define the codec, and then we use that codec video for 4cc, and let's say multimedia cam AVI, we will produce this AVI file. Okay, and let's audio video file, and we will mention this codec and mention the frame per second, and we will also mention in our frame size, because we already know our frame size. Otherwise you will have to read the frame size and put this value here. Okay, and it will be located in the current directory, because I mean current directory means the directory where we are running this code, and this is exactly we are running here. Actually you see this multimedia class, and here you look, that file name is this one, but now after we generating, we'll see there is some video API file we will have here. Okay, so so that's the things idea. And again the same things, if not open, and then you just produce some error message. Otherwise you just write it. It's the same command, just we'll write out.write. So this is the things. First we'll we'll read our frame, and then this frame we need to flip it. Okay, so you can see that what is this flames mean, why we need to do flip it, you can see it. But in this frames we will now write out.write frame. So this out.write frame means first it reads, and this frame is basically our writing, and this is coming, as this is the out. So out.write means, you see this out basically creating video audio. So here we will write this frame. So that's it. And then we can also show, so as same before, the image show, because we want to see. So that means these things we are reading, and we are writing, and then we are displaying. And when we done everything, we'll release the object, we'll release the output file, and we'll destroy all the windows. Okay, so let's we run it. Okay, run. So let's wait for some time. Okay, so that's the idea, you see. So now it's showing, and you also see that why you use flip. So flips means this video basically flipped. So that's the idea why we wrote the flip things. And let's say we quit. So that means quit. Now how about we read, we display, and we also wrote. So definitely this now have you see this cam AVI. So we have this file. Now if you just play this file, basically it will show the file. Let's I'm just showing it. You see cap, you see this is the video file that we captured, and we just saved it, we just write it. So that's pretty interesting idea, that what I had for you. So the reason why I just use OpenCV for it, because with OpenCV is a very raw file you can actually work with, raw image, raw frames that you are familiar with. And definitely when you need to develop some other kind of application oriented, use ffmpeg. And when you do the research, you use this kind of things. So this is what I had in multimedia frames or tools. So I believe that if you become master on one topic, so in one aspects of ffmpeg, or let's say OpenCV, or let's say OpenShot, Pro OBS, and you will have no problem to get the job. So see you, and please as I told you in the first part, that you have the exam next week, and be prepared and have a good exam.